Welcome back to Science News Thursdays, the weekly show where we dive into 4 to 5 trending science topics while simultaneously entertaining you with memes. Today we're talking about electricity production on the moon, how a geomagnetic storm fried a bunch of Starlink satellites, the oldest known case of DINO pneumonia, superionic matter in Earth's core, diamond-like starfish skeletons, and this dude who repainted an observatory to look like R2-D2. That said, let's go ahead and dive into the science and the memes. I'm Eric Malachite, author of Seleniar's Enigma, and this is Science Get. Some promising research has begun at Tall Tech that foreshadows the development of a new form of solar cell for future moon bases. In the next, decades? The ESA plans to construct a moon base on the south pole of good old Luna. The ESA, European Space Agency, wants to create moon bases in the near future.
Do you want me to cut your hair there?
And if this research being conducted by doctoral student Katrine Christman at Tallinn University of Technology, which totally sounds like something out of StarCraft, proves useful, it could yield solar cells of any shape or size. The solar cells would be made from fool's gold, and since iron and sulfur are contained in lunar regolith, it's more than likely that it could be synthesized on the moon itself. Pyrite iron disulfide, or fool's gold, could allow ESA moon astronauts, or would they be lunar residents, to engineer pyrite solar cells that feature 25% energy efficiency. Check the article for further details. Sometimes you just can't win. On February 8th, SpaceX launched 49 Starlink satellites. After testing them in low orbit, where the satellite systems are usually tested before rising to their operational orbit, something happened that irreparably damaged them. NOAA's Space Weather Prediction Center came out with a forecast that a minor geomagnetic G2 level storm would happen around the same time that the satellites would be launching and testing. NOAA rates the severity of geomagnetic storms from G1 to G5, but it was thought that the storm had a low probability of damaging satellites. However, the storm was a bit more intense than originally predicted. Though no other satellites were harmed during the storm, the Starlink satellites were in a uniquely vulnerable position because of their place in low orbit. Basically, during testing, their ion thrusters weren't able to get them to their operational orbital position. Fortunately, they don't pose any threat to surrounding satellites. Starlink satellites are designed to completely burn up on re-entry of Earth's atmosphere, so there won't be a trace of them left. NOAA and SpaceX are currently investigating the event, but some outlets have pointed out that this could mean that the sun is starting to move into a more active phase in its 11-year cycle. So basically, the sun is pissed. More details in the article. Have you ever wondered what sorts of diseases plague the dinosaurs? No? Well, I'm going to tell you anyway. The oldest case of dinosaur fever may have been discovered in the fossilized remains of a sauropod that researchers have named Dolly. Dolly lived around 150 million years ago. Researchers discovered lesions in the dino's vertebrae that could mean that the young sauropod was suffering from some kind of lung infection that progressed to its skeletal system before events transpired leading to its fossilization. The researchers don't know whether the illness was caused by a bacterial, fungal, or viral infection, and they're not really sure what caused its demise either. Viruses and other small organisms don't typically fossilize well, but the research team is pretty sure that these lesions aren't the sign of bone tumors, and since bone tumors aren't really that common in birds today, and if you've learned anything through your high school science classes, you should know that birds are modern dinosaurs, so more than likely this was a respiratory infection that went on to infect Dolly's air sacs. But Dolly is the oldest known case of dinosaur illness, clocking in at 150 million years in Earth's past. The previous record was held by a 100 million year old titanosaur fossil discovered in Brazil. Does a strange superionic matter make up the Earth's core? Such a substance would act like a combination of liquid and solid matter. No, not really like that. As we've discussed on the channel before, analysis of seismic P, primary waves, and S, shear waves, that propagate through the Earth's core in different ways reveal a mostly solid inner core surrounded by a molten outer core. If you recall my recent video dealing with new data that suggests that parts of the inner core are a mixture of solid and liquid iron, then you can probably see where this is going. Computer simulations dealing with 64 iron atoms, as well as hydrogen, oxygen, and carbon, which are lighter elements, behave under the intense conditions at the center of our planet ran by a team of researchers, suggest suggests that if these atoms are present in the Earth's core, then the core may be made up of superionic matter. On the Earth's surface, i.e. typical conditions, iron atoms are typically arranged in a grid and don't change their positions. However, when dealing with superionic matter, some of the atoms behave like a solid, like their surface-dwelling counterparts, lousy surface dwellers, and others behave more like a liquid, allowing their positions to be more fluid and flexible. However, since we don't really have any way to test such a material at pressures and temperatures we'd find in the Earth's core, there's no way to tell whether or not this explains what we observe in the core. And the team admits that different combinations of elements could explain what we see just as well as their computer simulations. Either way, it's fascinating. Check out the full article for details. Starfish are weird. There's a reason why H.P. Lovecraft made the Elder Things' heads starfish-shaped. Virginia Tech scientists have reported that some starfish can fortify their own skeletal structure. Starfish usually have skeletons composed of calcite. This substance is more fragile than your racist uncle's ego, and when it's porous, it tends to be even more brittle. However, after some analysis at 50 micrometers, researchers observed a structure that apparently looked like it was 3D printed and was reminiscent of how carbon atoms behave in diamonds. The researchers also described the internal structure of the starfish's skeleton as a series of stacked hexagons, an arrangement that clearly causes the calcite to appear to be stronger than one would expect. That's really cool, right? Seeing that under the microscope is all good and great, but the researchers at Virginia Tech have no idea how starfish do it. Aliens? More details in the article. Finally, let's get to some honorable mentions, like this German professor and avid Star Wars fan who repainted this observatory to look like R2-D2. This astronomer who discovered what's being described as a 1 in a million super-Earth with an orbit extremely similar to Earth's, and this awesome video of Europa and Io orbiting Jupiter. The video has been scrutinized by social media skeptics who claim it must be fake because Io's orbit appears to be slower than Europa's. However, this is because of the spacecraft's velocity being faster than the moons are orbiting. This goes into time dilation though, and that's a massive can of worms, so suffice it to say the video is not fake. It's real. Watch it, enjoy it, and we'll talk about time dilation in a future episode of ScienceCat. That's all I've got for you this week. If you dug this video, be sure to do all that algorithmic jazz and share this video with someone who loves space, science, sarcasm, memes, and cows? What? And hey, if you dig videos about the Earth's core, check out this one on how Earth's inner core might not be totally solid. Hint, it's really awesome. Wow, check out all those wonderful names. Thank you, patrons. I'm Eric Malachite, and I'll see you next time, Space Cow.